there's still a feeling like the Ironbound section's like the Reach in Game of Thrones. It's the fertile place where everyone eats all the time, and there's lots of wine and parties and nice outfits you can wear. And then the African American sections, the other wards of Newark, are kind of like Dorne. It's like, oh, that's desert territory. People don't really go there that much. We hear about it, but there's not a lot of dialogue, even though in Game of Thrones, Dorne and the Reach are right next to each other. There's, you know, so it's like, it literally, the only thing that separates is Penn Station. That's the train line that separates East Ward, aka the Reach, from the rest of Newark. And so I feel like, in terms of, I've tried to work at that. I don't know how much I can do on an individual basis. I try to bridge that divide and try and make my friends feel more comfortable going down there and interacting with LGBTQ individuals down there to see the similarities instead of just the differences. Because I feel like at the end of the day, we're really all queer people of color, and I would like to see that happen, but there's still on both sides, you know, on the Reach and in Dorne, there's pushback and confusion about how that would happen or who's comfortable with whom. Yeah.
Even at Twister at times.
Yeah, like I've had friends say things like, oh, they're playing more Brazilian stuff tonight. Or there seems to be more of a Brazilian crowd there, so we don't feel as comfortable. So they pop in for about 15 minutes and they go home. Or to some other place where there will be more people like them. And even when I'll try and say like, well, why don't you guys try and, you know, take a bite out of a different culture for a few minutes and try and see if, you know, there's something to be gleaned from the experience that is unusual for you. I said, no, we're just gonna pop out and go somewhere else. But I know that conversely, there are queer Brazilians that might go to a predominantly African-American queer space somewhere in Newark and would feel the same way.
Absolutely.
Even though there is just that one thin line. So it's on both sides.
I mean, and the other thing too is New York, right? New York City's there too, right?
So why would you have to?
So why?
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what lots of people feel.
And a lot of them like express even about the Ironbound scene. Who cares about the gays Ironbound scene anyway? Like we have New York right there, you know. But some of my folks they're getting older, you know. We're getting older, so they're like, I'm tired anyway. But you know, some of the young kids are going into the city, you know.
Yeah.
It's Ironbound and then the city. But
yeah, every weekend. Yeah.
I was just gonna say one thing. I do feel as though like the idea. I would like to see maybe like a study being done at I mean outside of the Brazilian community, in the Ironbound, there's Black and brown communities in the Ironbound because they do exist there. And there is the only thing is it's super segregated. And I feel like a lot of people just kind of see Ferry Street and Wilson Avenue and they're like, that's the Ironbound. And it's like, that's not only the Ironbound, there's other areas of the Ironbound.
Sure.
I guess I just wanted to mention that just so that like, as much as the conversation is about Brazilians, but there's also Brazilians in other parts of Ironbound, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So maybe the experience of like someone who lives in public housing in the Ironbound might be very different than some of these guys. And they might experience things differently.
Yeah.
And also maybe even being born here versus being born in Brazil. Because a lot of
Absolutely.
them were probably born in Brazil. That's what it sounded like. A lot of them were born in Brazil.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, there are limits to my study.
No, it's okay.
We can't do. But no, but those are great questions, right? I mean, exactly. The experience of a first generation is certainly going to be much different than a second generation Brazilian that's being schooled here, you know, and you know, geographically where that person is situated. Yeah.
I was gonna say one last thing. I've observed and I've seen that happen, and I think I've literally seen it happen last weekend where there were a couple of Black folks that came in and like hung out and whatever, we're having fun, and I was like totally vibing with it, and I was fine. But I also feel like I have an easier time bonding with folks that are different than me because that's just where I grew up, and I'm kind of American, and then also like I speak English pretty well, and then combined with like this is just like New York is my home. So I guess like I don't see it as like that different, whereas like a lot of Brazilian folks like will. And I guess I see that happening, and then like, I'm still struggling like figuring out how I can make that bridge.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely see what you're saying.
The gap, I guess, is filled with the gap is a lot wider for anyone who was born in Brazil
Yes.
and has immigrated recently.
Exactly.
So naturally, compared to someone like yourself, I can understand like the gap or the comfortability is going to take longer for them to be there to interact with you at large, as
Yeah.
we said. Yeah.
So I think it's my duty, my grim duty, to formally call this to a close because we're actually over, but that does not mean people cannot hang out and talk. So I mean, well, I think we should thank our presenters because we're doing so please, by all means, linger, hang out. Oh, eat. There's food right outside the door, which you should avail yourselves of. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
hang out, check it out.
Awesome.